Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz, and it is time to review Guardians of the Galaxy
Yes.
Volume 3. Um, we weren't fans of the last MCU film. Let's see what we
No.
thought about this one. We
Yep.
talked
Say
about it
the
a
least.
little bit. James Gunn wrapping up his trilogy. Um, I'll let you start.
Okay, I'll start. Let's start on a positive note because let's just say we feel slightly differently about this one. I was not in love with it. I think this film has a lot of problems. Namely that it's bloated. I think that is the most major problem. That is really where this film, a lot of the problems do derive from that simple fact that it is too long. He is trying to do a bit too much. Having said that, I was just very happy for an MCU film to be watchable, to have a comprehensible story, to have characters who had arcs. Like, maybe they're not always the best arcs, they're
Such
quite
a
simplistic,
low
but they
bar.
have arcs. But no, this is what I'm saying. Like, I just enjoyed, I was able to sit back and just let it sort of sweep over me. And that's why I think I did come out of it fairly positive, because there are moments. It is a film which does have some very interesting moments. I thought all the rocket stuff had some great moments in that. There were a few questionable moments, namely one line of dialogue that kept getting repeated. Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there's a line where it's like, "Oh, it's so good to have friends." Every time I heard that, I was like, "Show don't tell." But anyway, there was good stuff there.
Wait, hold up. I'm just saying now. Spoilers. If you haven't seen it, watch
Yeah,
it. It's a Marvel. Whatever.
yeah,
We're gonna talk about
yeah.
spoilers. I don't care.
There was good stuff with Rocket. I thought the Gamora stuff was actually interesting. I thought that was the most interesting direction you could have taken that. It would have been very easy for James Gunn to just sort of take what was done and go, no, we're just going to do another romance story. But he didn't. He actually did take it in a slightly more interesting direction, which I was a fan of. The whole way that Rocket's backstory influenced and was sort of like factored into the main sort of villain thing that was going on, I thought that was well done as well. The villain, I did think was a little bit surface level, a little bit derivative. I did think, are you trying to be the new Jonathan Majors? Like, we obviously know Jonathan Majors can't be in it anymore. Are you trying to sort of take that spot? No, I don't think that would actually happen. But yeah, he did just sort of feel a bit B-Tech, Thanos a bit B-Tech. What was his name? Jonathan Majors' character? I don't remember. Kang.
Kang?
Kang, yes. And it also had it was doing some interesting stuff technically as well. So there was sort of interesting camera work. It did a bit like weird shaky cam stuff like that. I thought some of the fight choreography was well done. It was good. It had that sort of Guardians vibe with the music playing in, the needle dropping, and it's
The
a
soundtrack's
cool sort of
great.
action scene. The soundtrack is great and lovely. But
I didn't
it's
like
sort of
it.
it had that Guardians vibe. It had that Guardians vibe that I was just looking for from the film. Had that team chemistry there, and I'll say it. I've said it before, but the reason that this sort of quippy comedy doesn't work in the MCU fundamentally is because it was not designed for their characters. Guardians of the Galaxy did it first, therefore it feels more natural. This sort of back and forth, quick punchline there, quick snapper there. The Guardians did it first, and therefore it was sort of designed this style for Guardians films. Therefore, I don't think it worked perfectly, and not all the humor worked, but it certainly worked a lot better than it did in Ant-Man. It certainly worked a lot better than it did in
I
Thor, and it's
suppose
certainly in Doctor Strange. Like, it
it's
works better
better.
here because it's more natural.
Listen, better doesn't always mean good. Okay. Dasher. Dasher was very bored. Okay.
She was bored. She was bored. It was Trevor.
He was a sleepy kitty during Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because he didn't go. But
No.
listen, I was also bored. I was like him, sleeping. And I didn't sleep through the movie like Thomas.
I did.
You actually did?
For about 10 minutes. It's a problem.
Again?
It's a problem. It's a problem. If I'm
Again?
on my own, I just like to go down. Oh,
That's
snooze.
so unserious.
I know, it's actually a
How do you
problem.
keep falling asleep during these movies? Like,
I
I
don't
was
know.
bored and I didn't fall asleep.
I will say though, I did not affect my enjoyment at all. Like, I literally woke up and I was like, what's going on? Took me about 30 seconds to clock exactly what was going on, exactly what had happened. Like, you follow it completely. So, there's that.
You're an interesting one. Um,
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
well, yeah, okay, so I thought this movie was decent. Okay? There are things that I like. First of all, you don't know how happy it made me that we had real sets.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
We after the like just
whatever
pixel,
Ant-Man was.
yeah, like
Or even four. Four could have used sets, but it decided not to, primarily.
yeah. Doctor Strange, he had a few sets, but
Had a
like
few.
I don't know. it was nice to have real sets, like especially when they go in that place where they have like the suits or something. I don't remember, but like they go in the place and they got to steal something. It was like, yeah, they actually made some sets, and that
Yeah.
again, such a low bar. Nice to see though. The comedy didn't really work for me. I'm just not a fan of this comedy in general. I think it just gets very, very tired, especially when you want to try to balance emotional moments. I don't think that this film balances its emotional moments with its like comedic moments that well. I just like you can't be like, oh, quick one liner, haha, and now you want me to cry. Like, it's just I don't it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me.
No, you
I
do get a bit of tonal whiplash because you're clocked in for the comedy moment, then takes a bit of wiggle room, and when you're in your emotional moment, so there is a bit of sort of delay before you do get the right emotion at the end. But I do think James Gunn is able to draw the right emotions. It's just not very well balanced, so you do sort of feel a bit. You are emotional in one moment, you are entertained, so ha ha in one moment. I do think you get there, but I do agree there is a bit of tonal whiplash there.
yeah. Like it doesn't entirely work. And that's why I think a lot of the emotional moments kind of fell flat for me. I thought the rocket stuff was really compelling. I just like okay, and we did talk about this a little bit beforehand, but like I think why the first Guardians movie works. I think this is better than Volume 2. I wasn't a massive fan of it. Volume 2.
Yeah.
Why the first Guardians movie works is you have the focal point of like the orb or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And all of these characters, they all are connected to the orb in some way. And even though they are all like completely different, have no like, like relation or like any of these motivations together, like they're all motivated after the same thing, which is what brings them together. But like all of their motivations are entirely unique in relationship to that one thing. And that's how you make an ensemble interesting with any ensemble. It isn't interesting if every single member of the ensemble is all has the exact same motivation, right? But obviously, they have to be motivated around the same focal point, so you make their motivations different. That's just how you write interesting characters. The problem with this film is that the focal point is like Rocket and this like like trying to like save Rocket and like get this like fight back against Rocket, all these things, right? But everybody just has agreed on the same thing. Like every single member of the team is just like, yes, we're doing this one thing all for the same reasons. So all of the motivations that are going to draw on the different character arcs just felt really repetitive to me, and so many characters just kind of felt obsolete because I didn't care about them individually, and it didn't feel like I don't know, because it felt like then it tried to throw in different arcs for them and fit them in around the main arc with like their relation to Rocket. But since you have all these separate detached arcs that just in my mind just felt so like disconnected from one another, and then they like happened and then were wrapped up really quick so that you could fit it in with the main arc. So then all those just felt underwritten and just kind of shallow, and it didn't work because every character had the same motivation, and it just in comparison to the first Guardian film, I really don't think it works for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I entirely agree with that because I do think a lot of the arcs were able to stand up on their own. Like as I said, the Gamora stuff I thought was interesting within itself, even
It
though
just didn't connect with me, I guess. The
it
other
didn't really tie into the Rocket stuff, and I do agree with that. Therefore, I do think it was a bit disjointed. But again, I would bring that back to just the bloated thing. I do think there is a way to make this film a bit more streamlined, make it all connect sort of just a bit better. And I do think maybe that is down to the villain potentially. Just I don't think it was
like the high evolutionary, like the existence of that character.
Yeah, take them out. Yeah, Will Poulter.
Right. Like for like Adam.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Adam Warlock didn't need to be there. He was literally just there. Once again, spoilers. Literally just there to save Peter Quill at the end. Other than that, I really don't understand why that character existed. And High Evolutionary as well. If like this was just something from Rocket's past, and this guy had been dead for years, the film really wouldn't have been that different.
No, I don't think so. But like, I think you've got the stuff there with Drax. I thought that was well done enough. It did feel a little underwritten, but it was there, and it was something to keep me connected with that character. Like, not all of the characters had something. I would agree with that. But like you're doing an ensemble. Like, what are you really going to do with I Am Groot? Like, you can't do very much with that character anymore past what you did in the first Guardian. So I feel like you've got to include him because he's part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right, but
So I
it
think
just
they did the best with
it
what they
felt
had.
arbitrary, and like a film shouldn't feel
But
arbitrary. Like,
I think you're giving the plate you're giving the plate that you've got, and I think James Gunn did the best with what he could to derive
I suppose,
interesting arcs from a lot of the
like
characters.
I don't think that this is a bad film. I think
No.
that there are things there's like a corridor fight scene at the end, really
Oh,
well
I
done.
think that may be one of my favorite MCU action
It's
like
really
scenes.
stunning,
Like, it's
and
really
like
good. Yeah.
the first couple of acts, like there are things to like about it. Like it's like there's just some fun like sequences, and as I mentioned, the stuff where they have to go like go on a heist with something, and like
Yeah.
there are fun sequences. I just for like the emotional beats to it, I feel like it's relying on you already caring so much about these characters, and I just don't. And I don't think that the film in and of itself really does that much to give you an emotional connection aside from Rocket.
Aside
But
from
I did like a
maybe.
lot of the Rocket stuff, but I do think that that being the focal point of the film, even though I found it really interesting, that being the focal point of the film, I think like kind of like isolated a lot of characters and made so much of the character motivations not
Yeah.
work.
But
So
I don't think that is a major detractor, since I do think the Rocket stuff was very interesting within itself and worth exploring
I
within itself.
suppose, I
I
suppose,
wasn't too perturbed by the fact that it did sort of isolate characters. I mean, I guess we're really talking about Drax, Mantis, Nebula, that whole sort of thing. That is really
yeah.
what felt like the most isolated part of it. I did think I was a bit annoyed at the fact they did seem to keep trying to make Peter Quill a bit more of this hero, the protagonist. Like, the first two films, undoubtedly, they're ensembles, but
This
Peter
isn't
Quill's really the hero. This is
about
not a
Peter
Peter
Quill.
Quill film, and it doesn't have to be. And I feel like they tried to, and especially the moment at the end
The
where he
ending.
goes back to the Getter's tape deck, tries. Oh, that's a cool moment where Peter sacrifices himself. That could have been streamlined a lot. That should have been Rocket. Really, Rocket should have gone back for the animals, and that's the moment. And he sacrificed himself,
Because, like,
jumps off,
and it
whatever.
does.
And then, but it's just they added this extra thing, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's a sort of metaphor for the whole film. Like, they added this extra thing that didn't really need to be there, and it does detract. So
Yeah, and that's this kind of feel because like they did the thing because they also do it with Rocket.
they
Where
also
it's
do
just like,
Rocket, exactly. Yeah,
where it's just like I
cut that bit,
hate,
put it there.
I despise when, especially like superhero films do this a lot. They're some of the worst offenders where it's like, oh, this character, they're gonna do this big heroic moment, and you're gonna make you think that they just sacrificed themselves and died for like 30 seconds, and you're supposed to feel sad. Oh, never mind, it's fine. And then they're gonna do a joke, like a one-liner joke right afterwards, and everything's fine. And exactly that happened. Like
Yeah.
I call it the Avengers syndrome because like it's like Iron Man in the first Avengers, he flies up and it's like, oh, he sacrificed himself. Oh, want to go get shawarma? Like
I didn't mind it the first time they did it with Rocket. The first time I didn't mind it. When it does it the second time, I'm like, really? And then when it does it a third time, I'm like, okay, come on, that like we know what's happening here. Like, again, this is what I'm just saying. It just comes down to the idea that the film is just a little too bloated. I think
emotional manipulation.
within itself, there are some great moments within the film. I thought a lot of the emotion did work. I thought, as we said, all the Rocket stuff was good, was worth exploring. I just think it needed a little trimming, a little more cutting down, a little maybe restructuring just from the ground up. And you would have had a very good film. You would have maybe one of the best in the MCU. As is, I think it's a pretty decent MCU film that just looks better because of all the shit we've been getting lately.
Like, listen, it feels like a return to form for the MCU in that it's just a bunch of interesting moments strung together that aren't cohesive. And that's what like MCU films used to be. Like a lot of them recently
Yeah,
have
I
been
can
like
see that. I can see that.
objectively terrible. Things like
Don't go that far. Not terrible.
Quantumania and Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh,
and
well, the
things
new
like
ones.
that.
Oh, yeah, the new ones, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying like some
I
of the
thought you said the
recent
MCU
ones.
generally, but objectively terrible.
No,
Which is
like recent stuff been
recent
like
stuff,
objectively awful. But I think
Yeah.
there's an era of the MCU where it's just like a lot of just fun moments that didn't really work, but like are just kind of fun altogether. And it felt like that's what this was. And again, I don't dislike this film. I wouldn't say I like it, but I feel I fall very mixed on it, which is an improvement.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I had a fun time. I thought, where they left all the Guardians characters, I know you had a slight problem with it. I thought where they left all the Guardians characters, I thought that was good. Gamora's having her new family there, sort of Rocket taking up the leadership, which he's always wanted from way back when. And Mantis getting her own thing, I did feel that was a bit tacked on. That was the only one that I was like, really, what? Why are you going off? I don't remember that being a thing. But I did like on the most
Convenient,
part.
I guess. I mean, and like a bit like just silly, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like whatever. I don't have that big a problem. Like, listen, I wouldn't hate to watch this film again, which I guess is a testament. Like things
Yeah.
like Ant-Man and Thor and Doctor, like all those, the Black Widow, like all these types of things, would never watch again.
Yeah.
Even like Black Panther, I didn't really love, but this at least, the second one, I do like the first Black
Yes. Yeah.
Panther a fair amount. I don't know. I wouldn't like. I would rewatch this film. I don't
Same.
love it. Don't
Yeah.
hate it. But like,
And that's actually a thought I had coming out. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
that was a nice, enjoyable time. I would rewatch it. Thinking about it more, there are problems that exist within the film, but within itself,
yeah,
there's stuff there to appreciate. There's stuff there to enjoy,
for sure,
and stuff
for
that I
sure,
actually genuinely do think is really quite strong.
absolutely. So yeah, didn't hate it. And like, it's decent. I like, and I understand why people love it. And this was never going to
Yeah,
be something that I was going to be like in love with. But I understand when people like it. So what's your rating? What is your rating out
I'd
of
be
10?
looking at a 7. I'd be looking at a solid 7, which is
Nice.
more than we've been given previous MCU films. So
Yeah. I'm at like a 5, like a strong 5, pushing close to a 6.
nice. Yeah.
So, which again, far more positive. I think that's my highest MCU rating since Eternals. And
Yeah.
before that, I don't know. I'm
Probably Black Panther before that, to
probably
be
Black
honest.
Panther.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe Infinity War, yeah, Endgame.
Yeah.
I think. Anyways, yeah, it's a good MCU film, a mediocre film overall. I think
It's a decent, yeah, that's a
it would
decent
be in
way
the
to
top third of my MCU
but
films, probably.
yes,
Like,
no, it would. I think on a general note, found myself connecting more to the emotional moments and found
then I
it
did,
more
yeah,
funny. Yeah, so I did think the strong moments were there. The strong moments were there.
for sure. Cool. Let's talk about awards briefly.
Yeah,
Visual effects. I feel like this is Marvel's player
I feel like
more
it's
than
gonna have
Ant-Man,
like
more than
it's
Marvel.
not Ant-Man. We'll see about the Marvels. I doubt it'll be the Marvels.
Well, because
But
people love this movie. Like,
exactly, that's
it's
exactly one thing.
the
Like
highest
Marvels, I
rated on
think
Letterboxd.
whatever happens, Marvel will end up being more divisive, even if it's a lot better. I think it will end up being divisive just because that's the way fandom's going at the moment.
Because women,
Exactly. So yes, I do think this is their
women
player.
are divisive, apparently.
Yes, I do think it also does blend the more sort of you've got the CGI there, but you've also got the practical effects. Whereas that
Yep.
man was just like, oh CGI. I feel like they would be the Academy. They don't mind more subtle VFX. They don't always just go for the most, which is nice to see. Obviously,
Yeah.
stuff like Ex Machina managed to make it in.
And win.
And win exactly. Yes. So like they don't always just go for the most. Therefore, I do think this would be Marvel's player, and it is the only category in which Marvel has any shot here.
I would argue makeup. I think that this film does have a chance
Makeup.
at makeup. There is interesting makeup things here. The first one got in. The second one
Okay.
didn't.
Yeah.
But I think that it can make the short list. I believe the second one made the short list.
Yeah,
So like,
I think it could make the shortlist. I think the reason the second one didn't make it in is because I don't think it was doing anything new with makeup. Like we'd seen Gamora before, we'd seen
sure,
it.
but this does have new makeup stuff.
It does. I don't know how much new stuff it really has going for it though. Like it's got the
Potentially.
violent stuff, which actually we didn't mention. The violence was actually I thought very well handled, and James Gunn knew how to do that really well.
Yeah.
So it's got that sort of stuff. But what outside of that are you thinking?
Well, I mean, there's all the general stuff, like obviously like Gamora and Nebula, and then there's like high evolutionary, like the
Oh, there is a high
like
relation. Yeah.
there's all of that sort of stuff with like the deformings. Like I think some of the animal people on that one planet, like I
Oh,
think
is that
some of
makeup?
it was prosthetics.
Okay,
Like obviously,
maybe.
like the panda or whatever was like
Yes, I
CGI,
just assumed it
but
was
like
all
the,
jump
but
scares.
like the ears and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that was at least like partially prosthetics or something. So
Okay,
like
yeah, and
I
maybe.
I think
I think
I
it makes
think
it
that
short.
I think that there's a chance. Like I think it will make the short list at least,
Yeah,
and
probably.
we'll see about nom. But I'd look out for the short list there, and then the VFX nom. Other than that, probably get like a art directors guild nom for like fancy sci-fi and like
Yeah, yeah.
costumes and things like that, but nothing else really. Maybe
No.
a SAG ensemble for stunts, but
Yeah.
anyways, decent film. It's
Decent
all
one.
right. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
If you think that you'll like it though, you'll love it a lot. And even if you don't, I don't think you'll have a bad time with it. Even if you're
Oh,
traumatized from past Marvel experiences of the past couple of years, like I don't think that you'll hate this movie.
yeah.
If you've been kind of with us and hating a lot of
Yeah,
recent.
as I said in my Letterboxd through, like the MCU is pretty dead to me at this point, but like
Yeah.
it's a fun funeral. If it's like this is the last chance. This is the last chance I thought I'd give it because I did really like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, so I did feel sort of connection to
I
the
think the
character.
first Guardians is fun. I have
Exactly.
that film at like a 7 out of 10. I like that
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, I say this is the last chance. I will end up watching the Marvels, and I will end up continuing to watch the
Oh
project
yeah, we'll keep on
just
watching it,
out
but
of
like I don't.
obligation.
We'll see.
But you know, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, you have any final thoughts?
Not really. Not really, to be honest. I think you
Yeah.
summed it up pretty well there. Also, Sean Gunn, what is like that is nepotism at its finest. What is he still doing in this franchise? I'm sorry. Him and Cosmo, the
I don't
fucking
care. Let James Gunn cast whoever he wants. Other
I
directors, Martin
guess.
Scorsese cast his mom in like 10 movies.
That's true, fellas. Just like, really, Sean Gunn, you're still kicking about? Cool.
Nah, who cares?
Yeah.
Anyways, that is it. Stick around for more stuff. We'll be talking about the Cannes Film Festival soon.
Ooh.
So that'll be exciting. And lots of stuff. I don't know. Just stick around, watch it. I'm seeing Past Lives tomorrow
Wow.
at the time of recording this. So I'll have a review this week, and I'm very excited. So got that other things, but you'll find it. Anyways, follow us on social media. It'll be in the description. Till next time. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks for watching. And goodbye.